Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today. We are excited to have you here as part of our PathLock Innovation Series today. We have a series of events happening throughout the day, and I'm going to put a link in the chat right now that you can click on to look at our schedule of events in case you want to join any of the other sessions as well. Right now, we are excited to have our partners from Gideon Taylor here to present, and their session is titled, What if PeopleSoft were more like Alexa? They will go ahead, our presenters will go ahead and present and introduce themselves in just a moment, but first I'd like to just go over a few housekeeping items. If you have any audio issues during this webinar, just click on Preferences and then Audio. From there, you can check to see if you're using the appropriate audio device. You can also click on the play sound to check if you can hear the sound coming through your speakers. There will be a Q&A session following the presentations, but if you want to put any questions in the question box on your control panel, we can answer those throughout the event or at the end of the presentation. To prevent background noise, everyone is on mute. And with that, I'll turn the time over to our presenters.
Fantastic. Stephanie, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to What if PeopleSoft were more like Alexa? My name is Scott Anton with Gideon Taylor, and I'll go ahead and introduce my cohorts. We've got Scott Livingston, Vice President of Marketing for Gideon Taylor, on the line. He is going to be managing the chat. So if you guys have questions as we go along, by all means, go ahead and pose those in the chat, and we'll respond to those as we can, and we'll also try to leave some Q&A time at the end, but certainly feel free to post those if you'd like us to respond sooner. Then we also have Andrew Bediz, Managing Director of our Intracy division. Andrew has a very special role today, kind of assuming the role of Vanna White / Chuck Woolery / game show host and contestant. I have just a little bit of information about me. I was hoping to be able to share my webcam, but I'm not this morning, unfortunately, and you can see a picture of me and my family there on the slide. I've been involved in the PeopleSoft market for the last 20 plus years. The last 10 of those have been with Gideon Taylor, and I am based in St. Paul, Minnesota. And yes, the Packers are having a rough year, and it is strange to be from St. Paul, Minnesota and say I'm a Packer fan, but I spent many years growing up in Green Bay. So this is quick agenda. I'm going to provide a brief introduction for those of you who might not be familiar with who Gideon Taylor is, and then we'll go through a few different portions of our session that are interwoven with a theme of efficiency, process automation, and data access. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. As a quick introduction to Gideon Taylor, or GT, there's 3 logos up there in the upper right, Intracy, Gideon Taylor, and Newbury. Over the last couple of years, Gideon Taylor has added a couple of new companies or brands to our family. Intracy comes to Gideon Taylor with a wealth of experience and tools for user experience. Their Web UX product, we'll be showing a little bit about that. And then also, they're most widely known for chatbots and digital assistants. They've got a very powerful enterprise-wide digital assistant called IDA. We'll also be doing a little bit of a demonstration on that. Newbury, the other logo up there, is a PeopleSoft consultancy, predominantly PeopleSoft consultancy, also with an established practice for robotic process automation featuring UiPath tools. They bring a much broader span of services to the Gideon Taylor family in terms of full PeopleSoft consulting, managed services, hosting services, and a whole host of optimization and automation practices. So that's a little bit about us. We're really all about, well, predominantly about PeopleSoft and helping organizations drive greater value within their PeopleSoft investments, allowing them to work faster, easier, better with their PeopleSoft applications and their whatever the platform is that their PeopleSoft system rests upon. So certainly let us know if you guys have any questions with regards to PeopleSoft. Just to give you an idea of some of the organizations that we've had the pleasure of working with over the years, this is what we would lovingly refer to as our NASCAR slide. Some of these are well-recognized brands and spanning a wide range of industries. You see healthcare, higher education, government, public sector, manufacturing, retail. And with that, I am going to hand this off to Andrew for the first portion of our session featuring the chatbot dating game.
Wow, thanks, Scott.
Yes, hang on a sec, I gotta stop the music.
Yeah,
There we go.
I think you got to pass it to me too.
Yes.
Can I do that myself?
There you go.
Hold on here. I seem to have a security issue.
Oh
That's
my.
going to force me to reboot GoToMeeting.
Oh my. So as Andrew is getting ready, just to give you guys some background. So as I mentioned, we are all about business process efficiency and automation. And the first portion of our webinar this morning is going to be talking about chatbots and digital assistants and drawing some comparisons in terms of what the user experience is when you're accessing a chatbot or a digital assistant based on the tool that you're using. So we're going to have 3 contestants in Andrew's little chatbot dating game to give you some perspective in terms of the different kinds of user experiences that you can get based on what kind of chatbot tool you might be using or your users might be encountering. Oh, and Andrew probably can't even hear me while he's rebooting a GoToWebinar. I mentioned that there's a common thread that goes through the different topics of our session this morning, and it's really getting more value from your PeopleSoft system, but specifically the data within your PeopleSoft system, allowing it to do more for your organization and for your users. So from a chatbot or a digital assistant perspective, being able to surface that data to respond to questions, to allow for users to initiate tasks and requests and actions through chatbot interactions. The second part of our session is going to be talking about eForms and allowing eForms to interact with the data within your PeopleSoft system, pre-populating data, defaulting data into forms so that users have an easier time filling those out, and then updating PeopleSoft once those tasks are done. And then the final section is Kibana, and quite literally making the most of your data by allowing for visualizations and analyzing trends and just information throughout the enterprise. Andrew, you're back.
Yes, can you hear me, Scott?
I can. Welcome.
All right. Small technical difficulties, but at least you didn't get those, rainbow bars on the screen while I was disconnected. Are we ready to go?
Absolutely.
All right, this is the chatbot dating game. As you can imagine, today's dating game is much more difficult than it was, in the 70s or 80s. It's a lot of social media, a lot of fake pictures. So we want to bring these contestants in and ask them some real questions. And we have 3 lovely contestants today because this market of chatbots is wildly confusing. You're not always sure what you're going to get. You don't know what you can believe. So it's best to bring these 3 suitors into the studio and play a little dating game. So let's start. We got 3 contestants. Number 1, let's start with you. Let's say, I'm an employee and I want to know more about my tax holdings. So hopefully you can see my screen here. Let's ask chatbot number 1 about what my current tax withholdings are. We're coming up on tax season. This should be an easy one for number 1. Number 1 responds by asking me to click some more, and it looks like it's just going to tell me where to navigate. So that's something. Let's go to chatbot number 3 here. Let's ask the same question. Chatbot number 3 is thinking here. It must be doing something a little bit more than number 1. Look at that. Seems that chatbot number 3 has told me I have 0 allowances and 0 being withheld from my paycheck. So I'm a fan of paying tax, it seems, for chatbot number 3. All right, that's interesting. Let's let's kind of move over to chatbot number 2. Let's find out how much I get paid. Chatbot number 2. It'll pop up here hopefully in a second. So I asked chatbot number 2 how much I get paid. Chatbot number 2, whose name is Marv apparently, that's none of my business. You should ask your employer. So I'm going to counter that with, well, how much do you make, Marv? But Marv doesn't get paid in money, just love and appreciation. So that's cute. How about let's ask that same question of chatbot number 3. I realize number 3 should be on the right-hand side, so you'll have to bear with me on that. Number 3, oh, look at that. Looks like it's looked up your records and showed me my last paycheck amount, including my gross earnings for the period. Well, that's super helpful. Okay, so let's go. I am, I'm in tax season, and I'm curious if my marital status is correct. So let's go over to number 1. Let's ask number 1 about my marital status. Am I single? All right, number 1 here wants me to use fewer words than 3 words. Not quite sure how to do that. Let's go over to number 2. Can you tell me about my marital status? That's a personal question, and I'm not sure how to answer that. So that's lovely. All right, let's go to number 3. What about, let's change my address. That that affects my taxes. Got to make sure I have the correct address on file there. Number 3, can you help me with that? Oh, look at this. Different address types. Okay, let's do my home address. Oh, look, this is helpful. As you can see, I'm in Buffalo, but I actually didn't have my apartment number correct, so I need to update that. Go Bills. Looks like it just helped me change my address, and that's all I had to do. So let's maybe do the same thing over here with number 1. Let's see, can you change my address? It's not even a link, right? It's just a bunch of instructions on where to go. So that's great. Let's keep moving along here. Number 2, let's see, do you have a sense of humor? If we're gonna go on a date, I need to know that you're gonna be entertaining. I'd like to think so. I try to bring a little humor into every conversation. Well, that is perfect. Number 3, how about you? Are you even real? You seem, a bit robotic over here. You're a virtual being. Well, maybe that's just what I'm looking for. Let's go to number 1. Just double check my job title. I want to make sure my record is correct. I was filling out, a mortgage application. Need to make sure I get my job title right. Looks like number 1 is directing me to my documents or notifications. That doesn't sound like my job title at all. Number 3, how about you? Can you tell me a little bit more about my job title? A little bit of misspelling there. Doesn't matter. Forgot the S. I'm the finance director. That's a desirable trait to have in the dating game. So let's just wrap this up. Maybe let's go back to you, number 2. Any parting words before we go back to our contestant? Life is too short to take everything so seriously. Well, that was great. Well, thanks for the contestants. As you can see, dating a chatbot is harder than it seems. And when you get in there and really have a conversation with them, I think that's where you can tell the difference between what can generate a good experience and save employees time, or an experience that maybe just leads to more frustration. All these examples were in the kind of employee context for HCM, but these digital assistants can do the same thing in higher education for students, faculty, and advisors as well. So Scott, if you want to go back to the slides, I don't know if I have to pass this or you can.
Can you see my
Take
screen?
it back. I can't see it yet. Hold on. Yep, I can see it.
Awesome.
All right. So Just a couple takeaways there. I think probably what was most obvious is what is most overlooked, which is accuracy is king, right? All these features in a chatbot, they really don't matter if it can't understand the human and if it can't answer the questions. You know, in our world, our benchmark is 90%. We want 90% accuracy, and we have clients as high as 96%. If you're not accurate, it doesn't matter what else you can do. People won't use you. And in this market, we see that it's the most overlooked feature. And different chatbots use different technologies. We think it's important to use the most powerful machine learning-based technology. This is the same kind of technology that a Tesla uses to drive itself down the street. You can see an example there on the left of, again, another bad experience with bad accuracy. That bot on the left almost looks like it's just doing a web search disguised as a chat. Be very cautious on chats that just look like they're running web searches. It's not using real machine learning. You can go to the next slide. So I think the thing with digital assistants, the value is oftentimes to kick off a project, organizations are going to compare it to the human. Like, what's the ROI, right? And I think you'll find that the experience is better, the accuracy can be better, multi-language. I can do a lot of things better, but what's the hardcore ROI? So you compare it to that human who would answer the phone, who would answer your ticket, or maybe even do a live chat. And when you look at the data, it's quite compelling. Gartner says on average across all industries, it takes 24 hours to get a response to a help ticket in organizations worldwide. That's not really that acceptable. In a digital assistant world, that can take about 2.5 seconds on average. Accuracy, like I mentioned before, we're over 90% for all our clients. That's usually the #1 complaint of chatbots is they don't understand me or I get frustrated using them. Well, they actually can be more accurate than human beings if done well and the right platform is used. I know we've all had that experience where we have to call for help and we have to call 3 times before we get an answer that we really feel confident about. So human beings aren't that great in accuracy, on their own. From a cost standpoint, it's a no-brainer. Based on Gartner estimates, cost per interactions will start at $19. This digital assistant's about $1 for that interaction. You can save $18 for every conversation you have over the digital assistant. The digital assistant works all hours of the night, can speak over 100 languages, never gets tired, never has a bad day, right? Never goes on vacation, only has to be trained once, never forgets anything. So it is a no-brainer. If you get it to work, it can drive a lot of value in your organization. I'll go to the next slide, Scott. So IDA is basically our vision of what a successful bot in this industry looks like. And so it's built on Oracle Cloud technology, one of the most secure clouds out there, available in many different regions. And it's enterprise grade, uses machine learning AI, speaks over 100 languages, can talk on multiple channels, Microsoft Teams, SMS, on the web. You can talk to it without a login ID. Maybe you're a retiree, a prospective employee, prospective student, or you can log in and it can be highly personalized. We integrate with over a dozen systems now, PeopleSoft included, Oracle Cloud, et cetera, ServiceNow, Salesforce, on and on. And we have the ability to collect all sorts of feedback from users to constantly get better and evolve over time. These projects aren't a one-time project. It's really a digital worker. And just like a human worker, you're going to continue to develop it. That human worker will get better at their job over time, and so will IDA. And it can drive, these business process outcomes. It can nudge people, remind them of deadlines, have them get work done, which is often why we kind of shy away from the word chatbot, and we like to use digital assistant because it's about assisting the employee or the student. It's not about just chatting with them. So that's a little bit about IDA. And I think, Scott, I'm handing back to you now.
You bet. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. That's very educational. Yeah, to emphasize a couple of things that Andrew was talking about, going back to the dating game, it probably goes without saying, the one in the middle, which was chatbot #3, is IDA. And to the point of this slide, it is integrated, not only with PeopleSoft, but a wide range of your enterprise systems. So it's not just a chatbot in a silo that is serving a specific application. It is waiting for the user to ask the right question so that it can respond with a scripted answer. Ida is extremely intelligent, and she's continually learning as she goes, and you can use her as an enterprise-wide digital assistant to execute transactions and query information across a wide range of systems. The other thing that we want to take a few minutes to talk about is then presenting that information, all of that data across your enterprise and your applications across your enterprise, bringing those together into a usable format, into a dashboard or a portal or pages that are user-friendly and they're comprehensive, giving folks easy access to the things that they need to do and the applications that they need to interact with on a daily basis. So there are certain solutions out there. The one that Gideon Taylor offers through our Intricacy division is Web UX, and those are just some screenshots of different Web UX solutions that have been created for clients over the years. They can really be whatever you want them to be, adopting your organization's branding as well as the breadth of applications that your users are using on a daily basis. Now we're going to show you a quick demo of combining those two things. So what does it look like to use IDA inside the context of Web UX? Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Hang on a quick sec. There we go. Andrew, can you see my screen? My workplace?
You can, Scott. Yep, absolutely.
Awesome, thanks. So let's go ahead and here's my portal. This is where I start my workday. I can go ahead and access whatever applications and items I need to, but I've got a question. I've got a few questions actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch IDA and hey, good morning. Now, granted, I'm Scott, but in the case of this demo, I'm Betty Lockerty, who a lot of us are familiar with from PeopleSoft. It knows who I am. I'm logged into the system. Intricacy or IDA can identify me and knows anything it needs to about me. Any of that information that's inside PeopleSoft currently, IDA can go ahead and query that and pull that back and present that to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just walk through a couple of questions. Let's see. I want to transfer Diane to Nettie's team next week. Let's see how IDA responds to that. Not your normal question that you're going to ask a chatbot. This is actually something that ideally I'd like to go ahead and just take action on it. And let's go ahead and start that with a dialogue. So did you mean Diane Palmer? Again, it recognizes me. It recognizes someone from my team, Diane. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And yes, that's the correct date. So IDA can interpret calendars, obviously. And now I'm transferring Nettie to Diane, or pardon me, Diane to Nettie. And yeah, that's the Nettie that I'm thinking of. No comments, but thanks for your help, IDA. So IDA went ahead and executed that request and initiated it. That could be linking back to an e-form, and we'll show you a quick example later on of tying e-forms and IDA together. And routing it for whatever approvals are necessary. Would you like to see other related questions I can answer? Well, you are being particularly helpful. So let's go ahead and see what else is on my to-do list. So IDA is thinking, pulling back information. Let's see, I've got items waiting for me in the following categories. Requisitions, let's see what I've got pending in requisitions. There's a hiring rec. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. There's the information summarized for me. Well, thank you very much, Ida. That's really helpful. Would I like to take action? I'm going to go ahead and decide later. Let's go ahead and put that on hold for now and come back to it later. Let's see. I am thinking of giving Cynthia a raise, but first, let's go ahead and take a look at what she's earning currently. So Ida's reaching in, pulling back that information for me. Did you mean Cynthia Adams? Well, of course. So there's some job data. And then here I can see her compensation. Fantastic. Oh, okay. Great. That is very comprehensive and easily accessed at my fingertips. Let's see. Can you run a training report for me? Oh, fat fingered a couple of things there. Let's see if Ida can figure out what I mean. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Using a little slang there in my response, yeah, as opposed to clicking yes or responding yes. There's the training report that I requested on Espinoza. That's good to see. It looks like he's all current. No, I don't need to have it sent. And one final thing. There's somebody that on my team was going to be leaving. So let me just go ahead and find out what protocol is for dismissals or terminations. So obviously Ida was able to interpret that dismissals means termination. So she's actually going through some disambiguation, helping herself understand what I'm trying to convey. So she prompts me with some additional information, and then here are some things if I want to narrow down what I'm looking for. She gives me some selections there, all of them tied back to terminations. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. How do I complete a resignation? Okay, so I can go ahead and read that in more detail, but I'm going to go ahead and terminate an employee, unfortunately. Let's see. Dean, Dwayne, oh, Diane, I'm sorry. Let's see. I'd like to try again. Sorry about that, Ida. Diane. Yes. What date would you like this change to begin? Tomorrow. Again, Ida knows what tomorrow is, so she presents me with tomorrow's date. We're going to go ahead and say, yeah, voluntary. And family reasons. Nope, I'm good. Thank you. She's also multilingual, and that can be pretty helpful. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Ida. I appreciate that.
Hey, Scott, we had a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
Relating to accessibility challenges. So anything we could show about how IDA would work for those with those challenges, for example, voice-activated communication with chatbots. And we may not have that here, but in the demo, but if you've got anything to add, or Andrew has anything to add on that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, two things I can add on that. Number one, there is a voice channel. The beauty with the voice channel is it doesn't have to use something like Alexa. It actually comes via an acquisition Oracle made for speak.ai. So it's a native voice channel, so your data stays in secure data centers. And you can enable that on any of the channels. So in the web, you could get a little microphone, you click on it, and you can talk back and forth. If you're interested in seeing more of that, we could actually send you a demo. Just drop us an email. Also, digital assistants are actually the perfect accessibility medium, I think, that exists today. And the reason why is because, number one, they're chronological, right? A web page is not ordered. Your eyes kind of pan and scan it. That makes it very difficult for people who use assisted devices, right? A chatbot is serial in nature, right? So it reads it off one at a time as it comes up. Further, what you'll see is in order to maximize channel operability, we don't want to use videos and images. And that's because if we have an answer to a question, we want it to work equally well on the web, in Microsoft Teams, on SMS, and on voice. If we start putting pictures in there, then all of a sudden it's going to get complicated. We have to have multi-channel responses. It just really ups the effort and it hurts the accessibility. So the platform itself, combined with Speak.ai, coupled with the kind of strategy of avoiding the use of images, makes it one of the most friendly tools to use for ADA purposes.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Three things to just reiterate from the demo that we just showed. One is you were seeing a user interact with IDA to get responses to questions. And that's obviously a very common task that we expect chatbots to fulfill. But beyond that, you can think of using IDA as a very powerful search tool because we saw IDA return results with data that is coming in from PeopleSoft. It might be coming in from other systems. She was also able to refer us to other pages, other documents in other applications, things like that. And then finally, in addition to being a powerful search tool, she's also enabling us to initiate requests and start actions and execute tasks. So there are a lot of different aspects. If you've got the right digital assistant or the right chatbot, there's a lot that solution can do for you. I'm not going to spend time on this slide because I think some of the points that Andrew made in his discussion cover these things in terms of cost savings, efficiency. You've got a digital assistant that's working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, never worries, never takes a coffee break, never gets sick. You're personalizing it, interacting directly with the user who's logged into the system. It knows who that person is and what their identity is. From a broad UX perspective, being able to provide a one-stop shop, both from the visual layout of a page and access through navigation to any kind of application or information that you might need, but also with a tool like IDA, being able to offer a one-stop shop for access to any number of different data sources. All right, the second part of our session, and we're going to go ahead and go through this one in the final fairly quickly. Here a form, there a form, everywhere in eForm. So the other aspect of our conversation about data access, eForms. There are a lot of organizations out there that are using GT eForms, but also things like PeopleSoft Forms and Approval Builder. We're going to be focused on GT eForms for this next session, or next part of our session. These are just some screenshots there of different eForm solutions that we've helped organizations build, that organizations have built on their own, serving a wide variety of purposes. HR-related transactions, onboarding, offboarding, personnel actions, leave requests, time reporting, COVID reporting, financial requests, financial actions, whether those are chart field requests or journal vouchers, invoice processing, and campus solutions requests, change of major, change of minor, grade change requests, any number of things that a student or a faculty member might need to execute. Some of the power built into GT eForms that just makes it easier and faster to initiate and execute transactions, pre-population. That is a configuration task allowing business analysts to build out these forms so they automatically populate with data within the system. So if you're doing a job change, you select the employee that you want to take action on, and it automatically fills in all of the additional information about that person's current job data or position data or person data. Being able to dynamically default information based on that data, based on rules that you build into the form, again, through configuration, being able to use the logic engine inside GT eForms to have it behave differently based on the task that's being executed, based on who's using it and in what role they're interacting with that form, whether it's as an initiator or an approver. Being able to enable bulk actions. So if you've got a number of people that you're hiring or executing a job change on, you can load a spreadsheet in to launch multiple eForms or one eForm with many rows of data that capture all that information and go ahead and send that off through workflow routing, final approvals, and automatic updates into PeopleSoft. These are just some quick highlights of different organizations that are using GT eForms. These happen to be higher education, but again, there are a wide range of industries that are using GT eForms across PeopleSoft HCM, financials, and campus solutions. There's one on here, in particular, North Dakota University System. I don't know if there's anybody on the line today from NDUS, but they this summer launched over 100 new eForms. In that case, for campus solutions, they're also working on ones for HCM, but they are radically transforming online services for their users at NDUS, allowing them to take all kinds of actions within powerful, intelligent, dynamic eForms. All right, let's go ahead and show you an example of an eForm. This is going to be an example of a benefits enrollment form that one of our clients created, University of South Carolina. They've been using this for a number of years to enable benefits enrollment for new employees as well as annual enrollment. We're going to go ahead and take a look at how this looks and how it works. So here's some navigation from a user. There's a wide variety of ways that you could access eForms, going ahead and putting links out there on any page or site that you might have, and also through more traditional navigation methods. But when I click on that, the form automatically knows who I am because I'm logged into the system doing my benefits enrollment. So it's going to go ahead and populate with information about me and present me with information about my current plan. So it's going to ask me some questions here, and based on how this form is structured and the rules that I built into it, it's going to hide or display additional information based on my responses, how I'm interacting with the form, what data I'm giving it, so that it can make decisions as to where I need to go next, what information needs to be displayed to me, what rules are enforced. A lot of this is configuration, the layout of the page, the text that you see, the action buttons. As we scroll down the page, in this case, if we want to add dependents or beneficiaries, when I click on that slider and I say, yes, I want to go ahead and add those, it opens up another segment for me. And down below, there it's showing me a warning message. I can't actually enroll non-US citizens as my dependents and beneficiaries. I need to contact the HR department to do that. I've got a grid down here that allows me to add multiple dependents and beneficiaries. So that also is configuration based. Being able to incorporate grids in my eForms. And then I click next. Again, it's executing a rule there that I can't have someone who is over 26 as a dependent. So I have to go in and change that, otherwise I won't be able to proceed on the form. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward a little bit on this. And then it's going to walk us through the following pages. And again, it's only going to show me the pages that are applicable to me. If I'm part-time or full-time, it might impact the kinds of plans that I see, the options that I can enroll in. You see a lot of dynamic behavior, hiding and displaying fields, entire segments, determining which page I see next, whether or not I see a page at all. It might skip certain pages, again, based on what I might be eligible for. And it's just going to intelligently walk me through the selection of my benefits. There are some here that are going to be executing not only logic, but calculations, and allowing for the form to automatically derive what the value of my benefits might be. This is a highly complex form. There was a lot of effort that went into the design and the development of this, but it's also safe to say that you can create a form in literally a matter of minutes. It all depends on the complexity and what the requirements of your business process might be. So I could create a pre-populating, dynamically routing form, including attachment management and grids and instructional text inside the form. I could do that in an hour if I've got a relatively simple form or a simple process that I'm automating. And then once I'm done, I've gone through all of my benefit selections. At the end here, I'm uploading a document. So again, being able to accommodate attachments and whether or not those might be mandatory, given certain conditions that I fill in on the form. It's going to go ahead and route for approvals if necessary. Otherwise, it can go ahead and automatically update PeopleSoft at the end, whether it involves workflow or not. And then here is just a quick peek at the multiple components that this particular form updates upon completion. All right. Now, a quick demo of bringing these powerful tools together. So if we go into IDA again, IDA is going to actually help us initiate an e-form. Let's take a look at what that might look like. I need to file an expense report. So I'm going to go ahead and type that request in. I'm using a little bit of slang, and IDA understands what I'm saying. She prompts me to create a new expense form. When she identifies that that's the requirement, that's what I'm going to need to request reimbursement. So she automatically allows me to launch an e-form. It pre-populates with information about me, again, because I'm signed into the system. Makes it fast and easy for me to go ahead and request reimbursement from a business trip. And then she can also differentiate between initiating a new expense report and pulling up an existing one and maybe making some additions or edits to one that's already in process. So that was, again, an example of creating a new one, but now I need to update one. I need to make some changes to one that I already submitted. So she's going to go into my file and see which expense forms have been submitted and prompt me to select which one I want to update. Pretty slick. So I think it's a really great way of illustrating the concept of a digital assistant. Going back to Andrew's comment, differentiating between a chatbot, which is really more of a Q&A kind of tool, allowing folks to get answers to commonly asked questions, versus a digital assistant, and allowing people to execute tasks and making their job easier by having a tool like IDA. So here I can go ahead and make the updates to the expense report. Again, this particular expense report is a very dynamic e-form. What you see here is predominantly configuration-based. Being able to build out this kind of a page through configuration is pretty powerful. And it's all fluid. So you're creating custom workflow-enabled dynamic fluid applications predominantly through configuration. All right, we are now in the home stretch, and I think I am right at my time mark. So I mentioned the last portion of our session is going to be talking about Kibana and data visualizations. Again, being able to tap into the power of the data that you've got within your PeopleSoft systems and elsewhere. So numbers can tell part of a story, but being able to see and visualize what the story might be behind those numbers can be even more impactful. We queried some data on travel during COVID and how visits to various places were impacted as the pandemic spread back in 2020. So here we can see that there's a significant drop in visits to retail and recreation, grocery and pharmacy, but a substantial rise in parks. So yeah, the numbers might be valuable, but having a little bit of definition in terms of what those numbers mean can help. And we're going to drill down into that a little bit just to illustrate that point. So retail and recreation, we can see what that includes. I was originally thinking that recreation might include parks. So I was wondering why there's the bottom, the plus 28 and the minus 34 that might seem to be talking about some of the same stuff, but actually no. Retail and recreation are things like restaurants, cafes, shopping centers. So I get a better idea of what's behind that number. Being able to look at an image can also provide additional information, additional understanding for me. So one of the things that I notice in each one of these is there was a unique dip in travel to these locations on Saturday, April 11th. It might be interesting to go back and find out what happened on April 11th. Maybe there was a stay-at-home order initiated by my local government, and that's what precipitated such a dramatic drop that particular day. Let's go ahead and take a deeper look at those numbers. This is a graphical representation of different areas of the country by county that in terms of how people's travel was impacted. Those that are the darkest green initiated travel restrictions of they travel less than 2 miles from their home locations within the earliest period of time after COVID started spreading. So you can see here different areas of the country responded differently. You can see down in the Southwest, even a month into the pandemic, there was still a lot of travel beyond that 2-mile radius from their home. So you can see that how maybe different regulations or different expectations prompted different behavior in different areas of the country. Another way of looking at this data is being able to break out whether or not those counties had stay-at-home orders in place or not. And so we can see here that in that top graphic, counties with stay-at-home orders, we had a lot more people abiding by that restriction of staying close to home, not traveling more than 2 miles. And then down below, counties without stay-at-home orders, there were a lot more folks that were traveling beyond that 2-mile perimeter. One other data element that's relevant to point out is the relative size of these circles indicates the relative size of the counties. So another thing that we notice is that the larger counties tended to abide by those closer to home or stay-at-home orders, whereas the smaller counties tended to travel more. And that might be because they just needed to. There might not be local resources that they could access as readily nearby as the larger counties could. So just, again, some different ways of looking at that information and understanding trends as a result of visualizations. So diving into Kibana, I'm sure that you guys have, some of you, many of you, have heard about Kibana, understand that it's a performance-friendly visualization tool, leveraging Elasticsearch in the background, and allows for any number of different representations of data, building these dynamic dashboards that you can drill down into to find patterns and trends. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at a Kibana example. In this case, we're looking at health and safety within our organization. So I'm going to go into incident analytics. I've got a couple of different representations here, incidents by type and incidents by date over the past year. I've got incidents by location and different ways of presenting that data. If I change the date parameters that I'm looking at and I restrict it to or I expand it to 5 years as opposed to 1 year, let me just show you something that is interesting. So with 1 year, and this would have been 2020 or 2020, we see that there's a large number of incident types by illness, and we can attribute that to COVID. If we look at a 5-year rate, going back and gathering additional data, adding to that model, we see that illness is significantly less historically. So we've got a huge blip here, obviously, with regards to the pandemic and how that's impacted our incident reporting. I can go ahead and drill down by region if I want, selecting different parameters, and then analyzing the data sets. I can go ahead and look at the individual pieces of data that make up that aggregate reporting. I can go ahead and drill down by location if I want to. And then a different way of illustrating the size or frequency of incident types. And then being able to change very quickly the graphical representations and diving into additional details and understanding the relationships between certain data elements. And again, being able to go into the actual details that make up that data set. So a lot of powerful information, a lot of data is available at your fingertips, and being able to choose the right tool to allow for you to use that data and make it meaningful for your organization or for your users can be extremely important and valuable. And at the end of the day, it's really all about results and what you can achieve with tools like this, being able to interact with the data, being able to interact with your system, and allowing for your system to better support business activities throughout your enterprise. With each one of these things, whether we're talking about digital assistants or web UX, being able to enhance and modernize that user experience, even though it's all PeopleSoft on the back end, the way that your users are interacting with your PeopleSoft system can vary dramatically based on the tools that you provide for them to use, just making things easier, faster, better, more accurate, more efficient across the workplace. And I think that's it. Looks like we've got another question in the queue. Scott, what is that?
Just someone
Yes.
asking about the recording being available to attendees. I think Stephanie can help
Yes,
us with
it
that.
will be available. It
Okay.
will be available by the end of this week on the PathLock website, and we'll send an email out to all of the attendees.
Fantastic. Stephanie, thank you. And then I will also be uploading the final version of this PowerPoint presentation to the PathLock site. So you guys can go ahead and download that if there's stuff here that's of interest to you.
Great. Yeah, and if you have any more questions, you can direct them to hello@gideontaylor.com. Or it looks like maybe Scott at gideontaylor.com as well.
Either one will get to us, absolutely. And thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attendance this morning. I hope you found it valuable, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the summit or the series. Any other questions?
Thank
We'll
you
hang
so
out
much.
here for another few minutes.
Yeah, no other questions that I see. I think we're done. Stephanie, anything else you want to add there for us? Thanks for letting us be a part of this.
No problem. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and we hope to see you at future sessions.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.